Welcome to another episode of the Southern Comfort Podcast. I'm your boy, Big Rich.
Evan Harris.
And, we're back for part 2 of episode 25. It feels like I think we're on. Yeah, episode 25. But we're back with my man, Jake, who is another Southern operative, one of the many people I've come across my career, who basically latched on to me and has rose to great lengths. He has his own company right now. Name it, give it a shout out just so everybody knows.
First Edition Strategies. Me and my wife Maria. Check us out, www.firsteditionstrategies.com. Hit us up.
Nice.
So in the previous episode, we kind of talked about your origin story, what got you in the game, some of the stuff you've done. And right now I kind of want to delve in on a couple of things. In my career, I was more operationals on the side of field programs, political programs.
Mm-hmm.
I delved in some of the other stuff, finance, communications. Kevin is on the communications arm, and I would say political as well. Only did field once or twice.
Okay.
I mean, what I remember, like I know Mayor in Birmingham.
Okay.
Anyway, here we go.
That was passive aggressive.
Yeah, you did a role that I've never done, which is research, and a role that I probably could never do, which is tracking, right? So I want you to explain to people, particularly I want to go in depth because we want people to really understand our side of things when it comes to campaigns and what we go through.
The research is all about making sure you know everything out there about your own candidate and the other candidate. And you always have to go deep, right? I mean, you're submitting open records requests, you're submitting Foyers, you're figuring out if they ever had a court case for something.
Break it down. What is it?
FOIA, Federal Freedom of Information Act, which is a federal act which allows, as a citizen, you can submit requests to like agencies or government entities to get information about specific cases or people, or if they've ever dealt with a specific person or a business, right? And so,
can you give a vague example?
Yeah, let's say you're running against somebody who has a business that employs a lot of people. Doesn't matter what it is, but like a restaurant, right? You want to know, have they ever committed any labor violation? Have they ever had any outreach from the Georgia Bureau of Labor or the Federal Department of Labor, right? You want to know all of these different pieces. And it applies to everything, right? Like, let's say you're running against somebody who's a doctor. You want to make sure you know, have they ever came afoul of any ethics rules, right? And there's so many different things. There's so many agencies, so much bureaucracy to work.
And so when you find something like that against your opponent, from there, what do you do as a researcher? You turn it over to...
First, you have to put it all together, right? Because let's say you're running against somebody with a common name. It's really easy to accidentally get the wrong person. And that's,
that would be so bad.
It's so bad. And it's the job of your researcher to triple check everything, make sure it's really backed up, right? And you put it all together, a big memo, and you send it off to communications and hope they don't mess it up. That's kind of, and they're going to come at you later when they're pitching it and be like, hey, we said this a week ago. Is it okay? Are we actually saying what you said? And if you're the researcher, hopefully the answer is yes. Hopefully you're like, yep, that's exactly it. But sometimes you're like, well, I actually found this, so maybe say it this way, right? And that's the process. It's really one of the most technical parts of everything I feel like that we do, just because you have to be methodical. You have to make sure you didn't miss something from, 30 years ago, or in some cases, 40 years ago, right? Or even further back. And you have to make sure you're checking every single box. The other part of it that I really like is the live part of it. You have to make sure you know what your opponents are saying every single time they're out. You need to make sure you know what they're saying about you and about themselves, and make sure they're not lying about their own record or lying about any of their own bio.
So when you say what you knowing about you, right, there is that self-oppo, what we call alpha, right? So kind of like, and talk about how crucial that really is, right? That if a candidate doesn't do an oppo book on themselves first, right, it could become problematic.
You have to know your own vulnerabilities, right? Just because you have to know what's out there and where they're going to go. And sometimes, you know, if you're being really tactical about it, early on, if you find something, you can prepare, get ahead of it, or, you know, handle it a certain way. And so, I mean, that's absolutely critical.
So like, here's where the functionalism of campaigns works together, because you said that, and if this was a team, right, if we're all on a campaign together and Jake's the researcher, you're getting all this information and you're giving it to Kevin.
Yes.
And like, Kev, like, what are you taking with that information that you get, like a self-oppo book? What are you doing in terms of the candidate's messaging? But then for that oppo research on the opponent, like what are you doing in terms of possible attacks? And you can also speak for this as well from being from a media side. Talk about that for a second.
I mean, typically what you do with it is you overlay it with polling, because it that's what tells you like what the electorate is, what potential issues you might want to go on offense or defense with. And a lot of it, when people see ads, they want to know where that information comes from. A lot of times it comes from the research team. And, you know, I think the most critical part of it, though, is like you said, there's looking at the past and what those records are. But there's also a lot of the stuff, like some of the best stuff ends up having not even happened yet. So you got to have a research team that's both looking at the past, but also capable of tracking candidates. And you should definitely like talk people through, because I've always thought this is one of the most fascinating parts of campaigns. But like, how do you even find these people? How do you even know where these candidates are going to be? If you're showing up every time at a certain point, don't they just kind of know that like you're like a mole or something?
Yeah. So
this is tracking.
For tracking the kind of second half of the research operation, you always are following all your opponent's public events, right? And this really comes into play. I mean, it comes into play at all levels, but especially higher levels where you have the resources to communicate whatever you want. And if you find something good, you're going to run with it, right? You don't see it as much in the lower levels, but tracking is where you keep track of all the events. You find everything they're saying online and all the social groups and everything, right? Things you hear about, fundraisers. And you want to try, if you're doing it correctly, you try to get somebody to that event to record, ideally video, but sometimes audio, depending on a bunch of different things, everything they're saying, because that's when their guard is going to be most down. So it's funny, actually, one of the first things I ever did was on this one campaign when I was just interning. Somebody came down, somebody in management, and I was in the intern room. Intern room's tough. We all know, I mean, normally not very well ventilated, okay? I mean,
12 of you in there.
And everyone's kind of angry, okay? And someone comes down and is like, we need somebody who looks Republican.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh, God, you know, this, I'm looking around and I'm like,
at the time.
I'm like, this is me. I mean,
I'm going to get this assignment.
That little swoop.
Swoop. Oh, my God. Yeah. Young Republicans.
For a large part of my life, for a large part of my life, I would try to go as long as I could without getting a haircut. And thank God, you know, I met Maria and she was like, you'd have to stop that. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, you look ridiculous. She was right.
She was right.
She's like, you need to be an adult. Go get your haircut. I was like, I don't want to. Anyway, so I was looking tough, you know. I mean, it was, I looked like some rich donor's kid.
Yeah.
Who didn't dress like it, but I didn't really like, okay, some rich donor's kid with no style, right? Like,
thank you. Brown pants, blue blazer.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't, you know, I didn't really, I was confident. Okay. I'll say that. I was a theater kid in high school. So I was like, I got this, you know, I can do the accent, I had boots. I mean, that's half of it.
Scene.
That's how they let you in. Some of them they do, but so I clearly looked Republican. And on the first the first thing we did, we went to, it was the Cobb Energy Center.
Mm-hmm.
And there was supposed to be some big event with some big like party people there, something. Forget exactly what it was. And we go, it's dead. I mean, it's like a Tuesday afternoon, right? I mean, it's just absolutely dead. And the guy who I'm with, who won't tell me his last name, which I also love. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but this guy is like, his guard is up. Okay. I don't know. I didn't even know where we were going at the time. It was crazy. I was like, hopefully like he's taking me back, you know? He goes to the top of the parking garage, and then immediately gets out and he goes to the ledge and he pulls out binoculars. And in that moment, because he's like, look, he's like, what's going on? And that moment, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, but I love this. Like whatever is happening, I want to do for the rest of my life. Like I didn't know this was an option. I feel like I got to combine the things that I loved, like theater piece, with the political piece, right? And it was what I could do. It was what my skill set was for, right? Was I could fit into these rooms. And it turned out the event had been canceled months before. No one was there. But we only, like, somebody floated an invite, you know, that somehow made its way back to us. So we went out there and just left disappointed. Not after I wandered around the building for like an hour. He's like, just see if there's something going on. There wasn't. There was nothing going on, but I tried. And that was so fun just because I didn't know you could do that.
Right.
I didn't know it was a thing. Felt like I was uniquely suited for it. So I ended up doing that for a while in different capacities on different campaigns. To your earlier question, yeah, I mean, they start to be like, it's that guy.
It's that guy. Right.
You know?
Right.
Which is how I was recruited at first, because they did that to the actual guy's job it was. So he found me. I was able to do it.
Needed a person. Yeah.
It's also on the flip side, when you're on campaigns you're working on, I would always be the guy they send to deal with the trackers, which I loved.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you can kick them out at these events, but not these events, depending on who's paying, you know, it's all this stuff.
And there's a way you got to do it too, because you don't want to become the story.
Yeah. Exactly. You can't get mad. And trackers now,
they try to bait you.
They get aggressive. And so, which I wish we were doing that when I was doing it. I would have loved that. That would have been fun, but they're like, don't say anything, which made sense.
I'm trying to remember, because I remember getting calls from orgs or like the DNC, and it was like, hey, can you find us a tracker?
Yeah.
And I would be like, call this guy. I would send them you, right?
Like a private investigator.
Yeah. But I remember on the Nun campaign, she had a very interesting tracker, because he was with the Republican Party and he identified part of the LGBTQ community. And he was like, he tried to ask me a question like, are you okay with the fact that her dad did this and that? And I was like, bro, whose side are you really on? And like, I asked, like, come on now. And we became friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you really think you're going to be able to get a shot of her when I'm around?
Yeah.
Like, think about it. I'm here to block you.
Yeah.
And you can't get around me. Like, I eclipse you, right? I give you permanent shade every time you're around.
Yeah.
So like, stick with me, you'll be in a cooler spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the best, when you're known, when it's your job, because you'll fly in somewhere. And especially in Georgia, I mean, when candidates come through, sometimes they're at some, you know, farm like an hour and a half out.
Right. Yeah.
And they're having a barbecue. By the way, incredible food. I mean, barbecues at the tracking events, phenomenal. I'm like, I need to go back. I need to get the invite again. Like, it's literally just a guy with like a smoker on his farm. Right? It's crazy. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the people who do it, to your point, it attracts really weird, interesting people. Which I love. Right. I mean, it's the best part about it. And I think it's important to remember with candidates all the time. Right. I mean, we've all had discussions with them on how to deal with this, but you have to remind them, like, this kid, if there was like a button they could press where your like entire political career ended, they'd do it, you know? So it's like up to us on the staff level to be that buffer. And to know, like, the candidate can't get too comfortable. They can't get whatever, because some of them like to do that.
Too animated or angry or really anything.
That's why the body person is so important. I don't think people really understand right? Like as for a candidate to have a body person, and that person needs to be so on point because they have to be able to pivot.
Yeah.
You know, they have to keep their head on the swivel, but they also have to retain information very well. They have to, you know, think 10 steps ahead, right? They have to keep the candidate on time, right? They have to work out the signals. They have to maintain the schedule. They have to like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you are a body person, that is probably the best job to have on a campaign because you're handling you are the road campaign manager.
Yeah.
Like when you guys are out on the road, like you're running the show.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to come back and then report back to all the departments. She met this person. They wanted to talk about X, Y, and Z. He met this person. He wants to throw a fundraiser. Then we encountered a tracker who got them saying this, right? So when they do a press interview, right, and they do a pull aside, you have to have your phone right there to record it, get the recording, send it back to the team, you know, say, this is what's coming down the pipeline. Here you go, right?
Yeah.
And they have to be on it. And so, you know, that was probably one of my favorite jobs to ever have because that shows a real true skill set of a person.
Yeah. And let me ask you this now. Because, you know, we're a little older. So I remember trackers, like they were actually going out with like cameras.
Yeah.
Right. And equipment. But with like social media and cell phones, is that still how it works? Like, are guys really showing up with like cameras?
It's funny because when I started, they were always tracking camcorders.
Right.
Because the phone clips were too bad. Like you couldn't use them if you got a good clip. But that was the tail end of that. That ended. Yeah, now it's just phones.
Just take your phone, which probably makes it easier to blend in.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people are more aware of it. You know, social media is so weird because sometimes now a part of tracking was anyone live streaming?
Right.
And then the research department has to find that. You know, and it's like, because then you don't need someone there. That's even better. No.
Yeah.
So it's changed so much.
Yeah. And it's I remember though they used to do trainings like for researchers and everything else, and I still don't know if they really do that the same way.
No, I think across the board has taken a back seat, right? And that's probably one of the reasons why elections and campaigns and candidates are the way they are because nobody's getting adequate training. So that is always going to be, you know, the soapbox that I preach from about training and development, right? It is a dying art right now in the political space, but I think across the board, right? Like if this were, you know, a sport, you know, there is training, there's camps, there's many reports, there's those things to help develop. And even the athlete in the off season does things to perfect what they do on their own accord. And so there's always a formula. For instance, Kobe Bryant took 1,000 shots. He had to know that he had to take 1,000 shots a day because that was his number for him to reach the level that he is. Right now, you're like, when you talk about people knocking on doors, you got to understand, you got to do 50 doors a day to even get some, you know, substantial number of, you know, yes commits or, you know, this, that, and the third. If you're not hitting 50 doors, you ain't really doing nothing, right?
Same with call time.
Same with call time.
Same with call time.
And, you know, I think another job that you've done is fundraising. So speaking of call time, how important is it for candidates to do their call time when it comes to raising money?
So important. I mean, that's the number one when you're looking at your priorities. Every race, right? Unless you're on a very small race, every race is always decided by who's communicating and what are they saying, right? And you can communicate in a lot of ways, but almost all of them require that money, require you to be right. And candidates, everybody hates call time. Yeah. I hate staffing it. I hate being around it. I try not to. It's terrible. And it's like, it's crazy because you're like, oh, I'm running for office. And you can be at any level. Yeah. You can be running for president doing this, and you're calling these people who are just so mean to you. I mean, they'll be like, never call me again. Yeah. They don't care who you are. Yeah. Right. But for every one of those, you'll get one, ideally two people who are like, oh, I didn't know who you are. I'm giving you money, and you just have to do it. And but you also, the weirdest part, I feel like, when you start, when you Rolodex, right? When you sit down and build out your fundraising network, the first part is your friends and family. Yeah. And doing call time to your friends and family is tough for people. That is even harder sometimes than calling people you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you will deal with candidates too that say, "Oh, I can't call and ask them for money."
Yeah.
It's like almost they're like embarrassed to do it. Like, that's my cousin. I can't ask them for money.
Yeah.
And it's weird because then they'll have no problem asking like a complete stranger, but they won't ask the person that's known them their whole lives.
Yeah. Something I heard somebody say once was, if you're not ready to call all your exes and ask them for money, you're not ready to run for office. I mean, same thing with like your family. Like you have to be willing. You have to want it that much. And some of the weirdest people, the people you don't expect, say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought in my head, would I call my exes to ask for money? And I'm like, sure.
I could, but I think it's more so, it's less about if they would actually give you the money and more about you don't care.
Yes.
You have enough audacity to just pick up the phone and call them knowing the different ways that it could go. So I think that's more so what it is, because that's what it's like during call time. You got a name and a paragraph of background, and you're like, I'm just gonna call this person that I've never talked to before and ask them for $6,000.
And it's just in the sports metaphor, right? It's like you have to want it so much.
Right.
Like you're willing to go take 1,000 shots. Like you have to want it so much. You put in the work, and in campaigns, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people who wish to run for office or candidates, they fall short and don't realize like this one is not easy.
Yeah.
Like call time sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but your organizers do it to get votes for you. If you want to pay organizers.
Yes.
And if you want votes, you got to do call time.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you
know, I always say Calvin Smyrie, it takes coal to run a train. It takes gold to run a campaign.
Yeah.
Right?
All those yard signs that the candidates want and all that other
T-shirts.
Yeah.
You know, the big event.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how a candidate thinks, well, I'm about to do this event and people are going to come. And then when it comes down to it, why didn't nobody show up? And they say it's your fault.
Yeah. Y'all didn't. The people, but they do the same thing to finance people too. Because like we talked about this too. They think that the job of the finance person is going to bring all these rich people to me, and those rich people are going to give me the money to run your campaign.
No, sir.
And that's not what finance is. There's no getting around it, right? At any level. And I think we've told this story before, but like Obama, even when he was running, right? You raise all that money online and all that other stuff. That's cool, but there's no getting out of call time. He would go into the men's room because the people doing call time with him were usually female. He knew if he went into the men's room, they wouldn't come in there. So he would just go into the men's room, just hang out until it was time to come back out and make a few calls. Whereas Mrs. Obama was the complete opposite. She just wanted to get it over with. So they liked it with her because she would just come and just drill through it and leave. Whereas he was like,
And it's, you know, you're calling people and they're asking just like crazy questions, right? And you have to just go through with it. And everybody, I mean, on both sides deals with that. And it sucks. And it is part of what makes campaigns so beautiful is that I think they are, when you're working for somebody or like with somebody, you get so close to them. You see their insecurities. You know what makes them sad. You know and you can't get away from that. It is like second to being married to somebody, like some of the closest you can get to somebody and really see who they are.
And when you're at that level, it actually is a nice thing because you develop a special bond and relationship, right? Like that's why I will forever have a place in my heart for Michelle Nunn. Right? Because like being in the car with her, right? Like seeing her kids grow up, her talk about her children. Just stories, right? Like you see who they are. And like she hated all the time. Like hated it.
I met nobody that likes it.
I mean, I have to do it now.
Even people that are good at it, they don't like it.
I mean, I have to do it now and I get it, right? Like asking people for money fucking sucks. Like, what would you say is the toughest role on a campaign?
I definitely,
but this is for both of you guys.
I feel like it totally depends on the personality. Like fundraising people have to be, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, a little off. They have to be a little bit like, I don't care, I'm going for it. And I think, but it's grueling if you are somebody who hates inconveniencing other people.
Yeah.
or hates asking people for stuff,
Yeah.
finance is easily the hardest, right?
Yeah.
When you're looking for your call time manager, the person who doing the call time with the candidate, you need to find somebody who's not scared of telling the candidate to shut the fuck up. Yeah. And that's hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it depends, but I think finance is like really difficult.
Yeah. I think it's those jobs like body man or traveling chief of staff.
Yeah.
Because you have all of the responsibility, right? And you have this big role to play, but you don't really have any of the authority or power over any of these people. None of them report to you, right? And they all, every department basically thinks you report to them and you don't. And you're supposed to look out for all these different people and their needs, but also be the primary person that the candidate is relying on. And you have all of the responsibility for all of these things and none of the authority. And so it takes like a very special, skilled person to kind of operate in those gray areas. And sometimes like when you're like a regional desk, like on larger campaigns, it's the same kind of way. It's like in theory, you're in charge, but not really.
Right. Well, political for me. Right.
Yeah.
Because you're still, like people still come to you. Like when you're political, you're dealing with the egos of the other electeds, right? You're dealing with the egos of
the candidate.
You're dealing with the candidate's family.
Consultants.
The consultants. You're also dealing with the community leaders and stakeholders. So your pastors, right? Like the deaconess of the churches, right? the neighborhood candy lady, right? Like, you know, the senior citizens, right? Like you are actually, you're dealing with everyone. And normally when you're out with the candidate, like you're also like a de facto body person. If it, you know, people are still going to come to you. And it was always difficult for me because I'm also the biggest person in the room. So if I'm the biggest person in the room, for some reason they attack that as the authority figure. And so they come to you for it. And so you're like, you know, I was, it just, and you have to, and you know, y'all know how rough I can be and
what?
how much of a no filter I can have, right? Me. So
that's crazy.
Me being out there front facing, and someone comes up to you and is cursing you out because of something you have no control over. And you want to be like, motherfucker, you know.
And everybody, it's well-intentioned, but they all have the secret to winning, right? They all have the advice, and you have to deal with that. That's your job, to deal with that. And to make them, you can't ever, I mean, sometimes you can, but normally you can't say yes. Like if they're like, come to my event, sometimes you just can't. So you have to make people feel good with no, which is the toughest thing to do.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to say about political in a lot of these roles is the answer you're going to give more often than not is no.
Right.
So if you are a person that struggles with telling people no, then like all of those jobs on the campaign for the most part are hard to do.
I didn't have that problem.
Well, you're perfect.
But that's why you move up, right? That's how you thrive. Because like the more you go up, the answer you're going to give the most is no.
When you talk about, and I always have this theory that if somebody is bold enough, brave enough, or just open enough to share with you an idea or opinion, you're always going to find something in that you can use or need, right? Because they didn't have to tell you. If someone ever gives you advice, take heed, right? Because they didn't have to go out their way to tell you or share something with you, and they're sharing it for a reason. So I always try to find, this is one thing about interns, why I love interns, right? Because they're full of ideas, and you're going to find a nugget in there somewhere. And so I always try to listen and understand what someone's saying, and try to find the good in it. So, you know.
And to your point, I mean, it's well-intentioned, right? Like they want, and so you have to treat it with a certain amount of deference. And you have to know they're not saying this because of you. It always feels personal.
Right.
But it never is. Sometimes it is, but it's normally not. And I think that's a really good way to see it.
So, you know, I want to change speeds a little bit. You know, this is the Southern Comfort Podcast. You know, all three of us are operatives raised in the South. Particularly, Kevin and I started this podcast. We were two Black men in this space, which is a rarity. But in the South, we're going to get into a little touchy dynamics, right?
Yeah.
You one time introduced me to your parents at a soul food restaurant nonetheless, Pascal's as his black dad. Like, I kid you not, Jake goes, white dad, meet black dad.
With no other setup, no background,
no
context, or nothing
whatsoever.
That was crazy. They were like, is this what happens when you sing a kid to college in Atlanta? Which is a good idea. Right. We should work on that.
When is Jacob and now you're Jake.
Loved it, by the way. They were like, this is what he needs. Right?
I can just hear
they were just like, we're just glad he's not in chemistry anymore. We're just glad he found out.
Bringing home seeds and shit.
Found other things to do.
I was there just having a meeting, and you took him there because I took you there.
Yeah,
and he destroys it every time he goes there. And he's like, I'm going to show off my parents. I got me some, some street cred. But I want to talk about race when it comes to Democratic primary campaigns and sort of some of the things that you face and you've seen and how tough it is for you to navigate being a white male on a campaign, particularly when you're working for a black woman candidate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. And it's interesting, especially in the South, as we all know, Southern politics is racial politics.
Yeah.
And that's true other places in a different sense, but here it's so visceral.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has to have, when you're coming at it from an operative perspective, you have to know why people are starting like with their ideas or like, whatever they're thinking about certain situations. You have to know the context of why they're there. And in the South, I mean, it's a historical context, right? Of why there are these dynamics and how to work through that. And you, as long as you understand that, and as long as you're comfortable with like being in and around those spaces, like I think a lot of the times, it's too often, obviously, we fly people in, to the South and they're like, what the hell is going on here? You know what I mean? And I think being from the South, you have or at least I had a certain degree of being comfortable, right? Just talking about race, which for a lot of people, especially not from the South who aren't around those dynamics, they can't do that. And so you have to be comfortable talking about it. You have to be comfortable knowing certain dynamics and being able to work within those, right? But you can't be scared. You can't be scared because that is that's just, it's not going to allow you to understand or kind of see the bigger picture. Does it make sense? So I think that's the biggest thing.
Again, it's important. It's very important to know what you know.
Yeah.
But it's extremely important to know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you're operating in that space, and I had to learn it and eye-opening when I reached the level of being at the table and saw how ignorant like a lot of consultants are when it comes to understanding dynamics on the racial lines, right? Like here you have this white candidate running for office for the first time and she has to entrench herself and get familiar with the black community.
Yeah.
Right. There's no question, right? There's no skating over it. And I'll say this, I'm talking about Michelle Nunn, right? Her father's history is not her history. And is also not this era of when her father is running, particularly in Atlanta, a place where it is a black mecca of leadership, right? We're talking about executives, CEOs, vice presidents, mayors, right? We're talking about civil rights movement. And so that spreads out far. It's the same in Alabama. It's the same in Mississippi. It's the same South Carolina, like these southern states. So as a person who's been a campaign manager, right? Like how do you personally navigate that knowing like when you walk into a room, black pastors, they're going to look at you like this white boy don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, first off, I try to be quirky. Okay. That's a joke. I try to be as funny as I can.
Don't try. It's natural.
No, I think you have to know. You have to your point, you have to know that you don't know everything. And I think the hardest thing for everybody to do generally just in life is admit that you don't know everything and admit that there are things that you're going to need to learn. And there are things that for a lot of people, depending on where they grew up or how they grew up, that they grew up with the wrong idea about, right? Especially when you're talking about like Southern politics. And there are a lot of people who think the way I grew up is how everybody grew up, or the way, you know, the dynamics of everything, like family dynamics. It's all, you have to know that other people have different experiences.
Right.
And you have to know, like for me, when we're talking like with Black pastors, right? I have to be, especially when you're managing, quote unquote, right? You're kind of seen as in charge. So you have to know that I have to be available in a certain sense, because everybody, you know, you owe them that, right? But I also have to know that, like, I'm not the person who is necessarily the right person to like kind of lead that effort and, you know, have that conversation, but I have to be aware of it and I have to be involved in it in a certain way. Right.
And so it happens. Yeah.
You got to know that you got to pull people, you got to have campaigns with staffers who have diverse backgrounds.
That's right.
You got to have people who you trust, who are able to have these conversations and who know, because they've lived it, because there's certain things that I've never lived nor will know what it's like. And so you have to have those people and empower them. You can't just have them to have them, which is a big issue, right? You have to have them and empower them to be able to do those things.
So now, in your role, co-founder of First Edition Strategies, how are you, you know, incorporating that into the type of ads that you guys produce, or in this media field now?
Yeah.
When dealing with racing, you know, I know you guys go to you look for more diverse candidates, but right, like how are you articulating that in your messages or the content you create?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. I think a lot of it is having that, knowing every single race is going to be different, right? Like every single campaign is going to be running for, like, you got to start with the district and you got to work back, right? And you got to understand and know those experiences people have in that district are going to be different, and and you have to use that as a starting point and then walk backwards into that. I think too often, and it's interesting because there's so much of this field. There's like the art and the science, right? And the science is all the polling, all those other things, but the art of it is something you're never going to be able to pull, but you have to know, right? You have to have an intuitive understanding of. And I think that's the part that I like the most, because it's the hardest to grasp. And I think the most important when you're making ads is, what are you communicating without saying? And you have to be able to do that. And I think that's the most important part, and kind of how I think about it.
Are you still dabbling and are you still a researcher? Once a researcher, always a researcher?
Yeah, that's what I tell myself, but professionally doing research is so time consuming. You know, I have a lot of great people who do research, and it's something, but even if you're on a campaign, knowing how to work the FEC or the terrible state ethics site, to know, in the sports metaphor, right? You're looking at tape every week. You know what your opponents are going to do. And campaigns, so often, you're not, like, if you're not looking at your opponent's filing, not just your fundraising people, what they're raising, but what they're spending.
Yeah.
How are they spending it? How much money they have in the bank? How are they thinking? If you're not doing that, you're missing an entire part of the strategic understanding you have to have of the race.
Yeah.
And so I think that in that perspective, I mean, I'm always doing that.
And for people, just to like give people maybe like a metaphor, because it's very interesting what you just said, that they might get, like what Jake is talking about is the equivalent of a doctor looking at your lab reports or your record, right? It tells them a lot about what's going on inside your body. Yeah. So those finance reports, like where they're spending, who did they bring on, right? How much did they bring in? A lot of that tells you about like the health of the campaign and what some of their strategies might be.
We call that the burn rate.
Like how fast are they spending the money that's coming in, and are they going to have enough down the stretch? But one thing I wanted to ask you too about just like research, you know, like in this age that we're in with like Trump, that's it. Do you have to look for it? He just kind of says it. So like how has that changed? And the reason I ask that too is because it has implications for other races beyond his. You got people that are mimicking him, right? So like, do you even have to look for this stuff anymore? I think they just kind of say the shit they say, and that's their position. Yeah. So,
and you know, that's a really good question, and something we are always, I feel like all of us have been asking ourselves.
How do you communicate in this? Right.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where like, it definitely does on like smaller races, right? Where there's not, it's not entirely like dominated by millions and millions of dollars of spending, or like Trump getting a ton of media attention every time he opens his mouth. It's like, if you're looking at the small races, it does matter. But on those larger races, it does. The communications department, I think, has in the last, it's fair to say, kind of risen, right, in some of their own, even though a lot of it's candidate driven, but risen in their own kind of importance, because it is about driving that narrative. Right. And it is about knowing the other thing that comes with it. People have accepted we have imperfect candidates, right? Which we always had, but we didn't accept it in the 90s, right? If you had if you were arrested once, right, that was a huge thing. But now it's like a completely different context. So it's fascinating, because there's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things with it. And we have to deal with it, I guess. That's on us.
So as we bring this conversation to a close, is great. So one, I guess, well, a couple of things. One, we need you back. Yeah. You know, this is very good. Awesome. We need you back. We want you back. You're now part of the Maroon Bison family. You know, even though you are.
I don't know why he's laughing. He's laughing hard at that.
Nah, I'm proud. I'm happy.
Appreciate it.
What is something y'all are?
The Eagles?
Eagles, that's right. So now you're a bison, Maroon Bison.
Okay.
A tiger bison.
Tiger bison.
Might
be on something. Might be on something there. Yeah.
So one, where do you see the Democratic Party going now? We've talked about it in a branding crisis dilemma. What are you looking forward to this next cycle, this 2026 cycle? And close us out.
Hey, can I add one thing to that? You said this in the last episode too. You were explaining like some of your family members that were those like swing voters too. Adding to what Rich just said too, what also does the party need to understand about those folks that literally go like back and forth?
You know, I feel like the thing that makes me the most mad about my own party is we are so good at correcting each other. Like, we're immediately on it. And it goes both sides. I'm guilty of it myself, right? Or so, if you're really progressive, you're really mad about the moderates. If you're really moderate, you're really mad about the president. Everyone's just constantly teaching each other, right? And I think as operatives, in a perfect sense, right, an ideal sense, it's our job to know, like, the activists are going to do what they're going to do. And they should do that. They have a right to do that. We should support them doing that. That doesn't mean we're going to adopt everything. You know, that doesn't mean that their message is what we're going to communicate when we're running in these districts. But that's not their responsibility to think about. It's our responsibility to deal with, you know, even if they're sneaking into our events and yelling, right? And we got to deal with it, right? But we got to support that. And on the flip side, right, it's like, we can't let our candidates and as a party get too deep into, it's like, okay, you have some activist saying like, oh, we need to, I don't know, if we need to defund the police or whatever, right? And then you have some candidate who immediately is like, now I'm going to talk about how terrible the activists are. And it's like, now you've made it a huge thing. You know what I mean? You can be like, those people think that, I don't think that, but this is what I think, without blowing it up, right? So I think the party needs to understand on a whole that, like, we need to understand that people can have different opinions and we can be okay with that. But at the end of the day, it's on us, right? From a political and professional perspective, to make sure we're communicating the messages that work, know what does, know what doesn't. And it's okay to say, I don't agree, but they're going to do their own.
Make sure you're right to do your thing, but no.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But it's a tough, the Democratic Party, it's a tough question.
All right. Well, first edition in 2026, and, you know, close it out strong. What are you guys looking forward to?
Yeah, we got a bunch of different exciting clients now. So we're excited to continue expanding, to continue working with different folks. I think it's going to be a great year for Dems across the board. I know y'all already talked about it or will, but the redistricting stuff, we got to deal with that. That's terrifying, right? And terrible for a lot of reasons. I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this year. I think we got a lot of excitement. And I'm really excited about honestly, I know this sounds crazy. I'm really excited about the next presidential race, because I think we got a lot of people out there talking, and it's a good time for us to think about, like,
what it looks like,
what we are.
It started so early. We're already underway.
Bro, appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Big time.
This is awesome.
No, it was great. It was great. Loved it.
Fast.
Yeah. We'll have you back.
Yes.
Love to be
Jake's
back.
local.
Jake's
So,
local, yeah.
Yes.
Shoot the shit.
I'll get you a Georgia Southern shirt.
I don't know.
Oh, you should do it. Actually, we should have told you. You should have just like brought a hat or something, wore some gear,
I should have.
or you should have wore. Knew what? Next time, wear your core
But
booker.
that's
Your core booker outfit.
That's how I know he doesn't love.
I know you still got him.
That's why I know
Yeah.
he doesn't love Georgia Southern. He's not repping it.
No,
crazy. I
But-
knew.
but there's no way you have that outfit. Maria trashed that a long time ago.
he
burned
couldn't
that.
fit that shit if he
Yeah.
tried.
She burned it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
I mean,
I had a hideous brown suit when I met my wife too, and she still talks about that.
it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, she's like, why do you have a brown suit? You trashed it.
Guys, appreciate you. Like, subscribe. Jake, what's your handle? Instagram handle?
I think it's Jake. I think it's Jake Orvis.
That's where you can find them.
I laugh because he could
Twitter.
never remember his.
Twitter. I got professional, so I
Mhm.
think my Twitter is Jake J Orvis, because Jake Orvis on
Mhm.
Twitter hasn't tweeted in like 10 years, but still
It's your research account. That's the one
Yeah,
we troll.
True
Your
story.
nuggets, yeah.
Oh no.
Jake scrubbed my social media for me. And he says it was tough.
Well, there are some
Oh.
pictures in there of
College, baby.
Mm.
College.
Mhm.
there's some distribution going on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'll say.
College. College. I was
Richard.
my at the time, and I still have this handle. It was Dick the Ruler. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And this was, listen, they asked me to, a campaign asked me to change it. I'm like, I'm not changing that.
Crazy.
My name is
My
Richard.
name's Richard.
Right? Like,
What do you mean?
I'm not
Right,
changing that.
Exactly.
Well, you need to, I was like, no, I'll create another one, but no. No. I should switch back to the handle.
You still could.
No.
You still have it.
I still have it.
Bring back Dick the Ruler, dude. You can't hide Dick the
All
Ruler.
right, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you for tuning in. Remember, like, subscribe, spread the word. Be back. See you next time. Peace.